Namaste everyone. Welcome to today's lecture 77, Talk on Vishnu Purana, an introduction and a summary by Dr. Ramesh BM. We'll start with a small prayer. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha, Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam, Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. Harihi Om. Last 2 weeks we had two lectures on introduction to Puranas and a summary by Dr. Ramesh BM. And in today's session, Dr. Ramesh BM is going to dive into Vishnu Purana. As you, I mean, as you know, Dr. Ramesh BM is an assistant professor at the Department of Community Health Sciences and a research associate at the Institute of Global Public Health, Rady Faculty of Community Health Sciences, University of Manitoba, Canada. Previously, he was the project director for the EOM's MNCH projects in Uttar Pradesh and Karnataka. He was also the director, Population Research Center at Dharwad and a faculty at the International Institute of Population Sciences, Bombay. Ramesh has been translating Mahabharata of Maharshi Vedavyasa from Sanskrit to Kannada since 1997 and has been sharing these translations through the website vyasaonline.com. To enhance the understanding of Mahabharata, he has been studying the Puranas with keen interest. Today, Dr. Ramesh will dive into Vishnu Purana. Ramesh, it's over to you.
Namaste. Thank you, Mr. Chandra Reddy, for this introduction. Let me share my screen. So today we are going to talk about Vishnu Purana. Jitam te pundarikaksham namaste vishvabhavana, namaste stu hrishikesha mahapurusha purvaja. Victory be to you, Pundarikaksha, adoration be to you, Vishvabhavana, glory be to you, Hrishikesha, Mahapurusha, and Purvaja. This invocation of Vishnu Purana, this shloka, is also found in Mahabharata. This is one of the 100,000 verses in Mahabharata. The invocation, the shlokas, they give out the secret that this is basically Puran, which was narrated by Parashara, the grandson of Vashishta, to Maitreya. So, Pranamya Vishnu Mishvesham Brahmadin Pranipatyacha Gurum Pranamya Vakshami Puranam Veda Samyatam. Vishnu Purana is considered to be equal in sanctity to the Vedas. And Parashara is described as Itihasa Puranagnam, Veda Vedanga Paragam, Dharma Shastra Shastradi Vashishta Tanayatmajam. Salutations to Parashara who gave us this Vishnu Purana. For this talk, I have used mainly three sources. One in Sanskrit, that is the critical edition of Vishnu Purana, edited by M.M. Pathak, Vadodara Oriental Institute during 97-99. I have also used the English translation of Vishnu Purana, which was published in 1864. This was translated by H.H. Wilson, professor of Sanskrit in the University of Oxford. Then I have the Kannada translations of Vishnu Purana published in 1948 in 3 volumes. This is translated by Pandit Ganjam Thimmannaya. This entire series comes under Shri Jayachama Rajendra Granthamala, Mysore. If you look at the structure of Vishnu Purana, currently we have around 5,607 verses, shlokas, organized into 6 parts. They're called amshas, and 126 chapters or adhyayas. According to Matsya Puran and Bhagavata Puran, both, they say that Vishnu Puran has 23,000 shlokas, which means that around 17,393 or 75% of the verses seem to have been lost in the current version that we have. So the first amsha is about cosmology. Second one talks about Earth and the universe, the structure of the universe. Third amsha talks about time, which we discussed in detail when we talked about Purana's introduction. The Manvantaras and the Kalpas and Yugas. So I won't be talking about that in this talk. The fourth amsha talks about the dynasties, the different vamshas of Surya Vamsha dynasty and Chandra Vamshas and other vamshas are described in amsha 4. And amsha 5 which is the biggest amsha, is about Krishna and his activities and his story. This very much, a major part of it seems to be similar to Vishnu Parva of Harivamsha, which is an appendix to Mahabharata. Amsha 6 talks about dharma and liberation. So these are the 6 amshas talking about different aspects, different topics within Vishnu Purana. So for today's talk, I thought we could again look at 5 major points. Let's look at the setting in terms of who narrated this Purana to whom. Secondly, we could look at creation. What does Vishnu Purana say about the creation of the universe? It talks about 9 types of creations. Then we can look at structure of the universe in terms of Bhumandala and the Lokas. Then the liberation, moksha in Kali Yuga, and what are the other legends that we have in Vishnu Purana. So in terms of the setting, the Vishnu Purana proper starts with Parasharam Munivaram Kritapurvanika Kriyam Maitreya Paripapracha Pranipatyavivadyach. So this gives very clearly that Maitreya and Parashara, this is a conversation. Vishnu Purana is a conversation between Maitreya and his teacher Parashara. Let us see who are these Maitreya and Parashara. So about Maitreya, if we can say that he is a disciple of Parashara, that we saw that in Vishnu Purana. In Mahabharata, there is an episode where he curses Duryodhana that in the war, Bhima will break his thigh. Then, according to Bhagavad Puran, Maitreya instructed Vidura on spiritual matters, which seems to be a summary of Vishnu Puran that he had heard from Parashar. So, it's only a abridged version of Vishnu Puran. It looks like the entire creation structure of the universe, the time concept, all of this, what Maitreya is telling Vidura in Bhagavad Puran is almost the same as what he heard from Parashar in Vishnu Puran. Maitreya is described in Mahabharata as Mahabhagavat and Dvaipayana Sruhat Saka. So he is a friend of Krishna Dvaipayan, and he was also a Siddha. There is also a Upanishad, Maitreya Upanishad, attributed to Maitreya. These contain Shiva's teachings to Maitreya. Then Parashara, he is the son of Shakti, raised by his father Vasishta and Krishna Dvaipayana's father. This is according to Mahabharata. And we see that Vyasa of the 26th Dwapara, Vaivasvata Manvantara, Parashara was the Vyasa himself. He divided the Vedas and he abridged the Puranas in the 26th Dwapara Yuga. And this is according to Vishnu Purana. And Parashara is also considered to be the authors of some of the parts of Rig Veda. Parashara Smriti Dharma Samhita is also attributed to Parashara. Brihat Parashara Hora Shastra, a foundational text on astrology, is also attributed to Parashara. Then Vriksha Ayurveda, so the science of life of trees, and Krishi Parasharam, the agriculture on and weeds. These are also attributed to Rishi Parashara. Turning on to the questions, what were the questions that Maitreya asked Parashara at the beginning of Vishnu Purana? So how did this Vishnu Purana come about? So I thought we should discuss this a bit because as it was a conversation, so it's an answer, response to a question, the entire Vishnu Purana. So Maitreya's questions to Parashara can be classified into about four types of questions, groups of questions. So the first one is that how did this world come about? For me, this looks like very similar to any one of us could have asked this question, right? So it's not just Maitreya. All of us want to know, what is this world? Where did this come about? How was it? And how was this world before? And how will it be in the future? And in whom were the animate and inanimate things resolved? And into whom will they be dissolved? So it's about present, past, and future of this universe. How did the elements manifest? From where did the gods and other beings emerge? So this is about creation. The question is about creation, the set of questions. Soham ichchami dharmagna shrotum tvatto yatha jagat babhuva bhuyascha yatha mahabhaga bhavishyati. So babhuva bhuyascha bhavishyati. So how is it came about? How did this come about? How it will be? And how was it? The second set of questions relates to the structure of the universe. So what are the situation and extent of the oceans and the mountains, the earth, the sun, the planets? Samudra parvatanam cha samsthanam cha yatha bhuvaha suryadinam cha samsthanam pramanam munisattamam. This is about the structure of the universe. The question is about. Then what are the families of gods, manus and others? What are the periods called manvantaras, kalpas and their subdivisions and the 4 yugas? The events that happen at the close of the kalpa and the terminations of the several yugas. What is dharma in each yuga? This is about time. You remember we talked about this, how time and dharma, they are related, and the 4 yugas and the manvantara. So these are the questions related to the time. And lastly, Maitreya asks Parashara, what are the histories of the gods, the sages, the kings? How are the Vedas divided and arranged by Vyasa? What are the duties of the Brahmins and the other castes, as well as those who pass through different orders of life? So these were the 4 sets of questions that Maitreya asked Parashara at the beginning of Vishnu Purana. And Parashara tells Maitreya that well inquired, you recall to my recollection that which was of old narrated by my father's father Vasishta. So Sadhu Maitreya Dharmagna Smaritosmi Puratanam Pitu Pitame Bhagavan Vashishto Viduvachaha. So it looks like when these questions were put to Parashara brings to his memory the things that were told to him by Vashishta, his father's father. So let's hear what is it that was told by Vashishta. I think that's really interesting because these are all, the setting is important for us to kind of look at the authenticity and who, conversation between Parashara and Maitreya. And Parashara is not a ordinary person, right? He was a rishi and grandson of Vashishta. So what he is narrating as Vishnu Purana, it has to be really to be believed because he was of that stature. So It's important to understand these great rishis, and if they are talking about Vishnu Puran, I think we need to have some shraddha and some bhakti into what these rishis are talking about. So the story is like this, that Parashara, after hearing that his father, Shakti, had been devoured by a Rakshasa employed by Vishwamitra, he was seized with violent anger. He was angry that his father was killed by a Rakshasa. So he commenced Rakshasa Satra, a yajna for the destruction of the Rakshasas. Hundreds of them were reduced to ashes by the rite. As all the Rakshasas were about to be entirely destroyed, Vashishta stopped Parashara by saying that, enough, my child, let your wrath be appeased. The Rakshasas are not culpable. Your father's death was a work of destiny. Vihitam tatha. So what was destined has happened. Anger is the passion of fools. It becomes not a wise man, by whom it may be asked, is anyone killed? Every man reaps the consequences of his own acts. Hanyate tatakakkena yataha swakruta puman. So who kills whom? Nobody kills anyone else. It's all our own karma. Anger, my son, is the destruction of all that man obtains by arduous exertions of fame and of devout austerities, and prevents the attainment of heaven or of emancipation. The chief sages always shun wrath. Do not be, my child, subject to its influence. Let no more of these unoffending spirits of darkness be consumed. Mercy is the might of the righteous. Kshama sarahi sadhavaha. I mean, just think about these. This is the the instruction, the advice given by a grandfather to his grandson Vashishta to Parashara, that don't be angry, of what has happened. There is no cause or effect like that to attribute and be angry about, because it's all destined, and it's all our own karmas that we reap. And Kshama is the strength of any righteous person. So Parashara immediately stopped the sacrifice, and Vashishta was very happy. And at the same time, there came Pulastya, the son of Brahma, brother of Pulaha. Now Pulastya is interesting because he is the forefather of all the Rakshasas. Ravana is supposed to be, what we understand is that Ravana was his grandson. So Pulastya told Parashara that since in the violence and animosity you have listened to the words of your progenitor and have exercised clemency, therefore you shall become learned in every science. So Parashara is blessed with a boon that he will learn every science. Since you have forborne, even though incensed, to destroy my posterity, that is the Rakshasa family, I will bestow upon you another boon. You shall become the author of a summary of the Puranas, and you shall know the true nature of the deities as it really is. And whether engaged in religious rites or abstaining from their performance, your understanding through my favor shall be perfect and exempt from doubts. So this is the kind of boon that Parashara received, that whatever he knows, whatever, that will be the perfect knowledge, exempt from doubts. And that is the boon again is seconded by Vashishta. So whatever has been said to you by Pulastya shall assuredly come to pass. So Parashara tells Maitreya that I will relate to you the Purana, which was originally imparted by the great father of all, Brahma, in answer to the questions of Daksha and other venerable sages, and repeated by them to Purukutsa. Purukutsa was a king who reigned on the banks of Narmada. So Purukutsa related this Purana to Saraswata Muni, and Saraswata related this to Parashara. So this gives us some sense of origins of the contents of Vishnu Purana. So it was Brahma who told this to Daksha and other Prajapatis, and they repeated them to Purukutsa, and Purukutsa to Saraswata, and Saraswata to Parashara. So let's start with what Vishnu Purana tells us about the creation. How did this world come about? According to Vishnu Purana, so Vishnu is everything and he is in everything. He cannot be comprehended by the senses. He's a supreme soul. He's self-existent, and he's devoid of all the distinguishing characteristics of complexion, caste, or the like. Exempt from birth, vicissitude, death, or decay. He's always there and is alone, exists everywhere, and in whom all things here exist. So that's the description of Vishnu. And he has 4 aspects to him: Purusha, which is also called spirit, then Pradhana or Prakriti or Avyakta, then Mahat and Vyakta, or Kala or time. So these are the 4 aspects. So what Vishnu Purana says is that coming together of Pradhana and Purusha is creation, separation of Pradhana and Purusha is destruction. So Purusha and Pradhana coming together and going separate, they are the symptoms of creation and destruction, and Kala is in between, the time is in between. Let's remember these 4 aspects of Vishnu, and that will be useful when we talk about the further processes of creation. Parashara tells that before this creation, before this Varaha Kalpa, so we have learned from in the last talk on Puranas that Vishnu Purana is about Varaha Kalpa, Shweta Varaha Kalpa, this Kalpa, and before that was Padma Kalpa. So, so before the Kalpa, there was neither day or night, nor sky nor earth, nor darkness nor light. So there is nothing duality. There is everything was one, right? Unapprehendable by intellect. That which is Brahma and Purush and Pradhan. So they were all in one. So that is the beginning of the creation. And 2 aspects of Vishnu, Pradhana and Purusha, they are not the same as Vishnu himself. They are different from his true nature. They coming together is creation, and the separation is dissolution. In between them is time. Time has no beginning and there is no end to it. So this is called Kala Chakra, right? So due to this, creation, maintenance, and destruction occur repeatedly like waves. Vishnu Purana talks about 9 types of creations: Mahat Sarga, Bhut Sarga, Indriyaka Sarga. These are called the primary creation. And then we have secondary sargas like Stavara Sarga, Tirya Yoni Sarga, Urdhvasotama Sarga, Arvak Stotra Sarga, Anugraha Sarga, and Kaumara Sarga. I'm going to talk briefly about each of those, most of these processes. Let's talk about primary creation. So Mahat Sarga is basically the coming together of Purusha and Prakriti, instigated by time. So the creation begins. And Prakriti creates Mahat. So when the creation begins, the Prakriti creates Mahat. Mahat has 3 gunas, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. And these 3 gunas create 3 ahankaras, Sattvic, Rajasic, and Tamasic ahankaras. The second one is about Bhuta Sarga. So from Tamas Ahankara, you have Shabda Tanmatra. Shabda is the sound, right? And then from Shabda Tanmatra comes Akasha. Akasha is one of the 5 elements, Panchabhutas. And then from Akasha comes Sparsha. From there, Vayu, Rupa, Agni, Rasa, water, Gandha, Tanmatra, and then Bhumi. So this is how the Vishnu Purana says that before the Kalpa begins, before everything, there was nothing, and then Purusha and Prakriti come together, and Prakriti creates Mahat, and Mahat has Ahankara. And there are 3 types of Ahankaras and some Tamas, all these 5 elements and 5 tanmatras. So 10 things come out of tamasa ahankara. And then we have Aindriyaka or Vaikarika Sarga, where the Rajasa Ahankara, we talked about Tamasic, now this is a Rajasa Ahankara. That creates 5 Dhanendriyas and 5 Karmendriyas, and also the gods related to those Indriyas. So that's why it's called Aindriyaka. And Vaikarika are the gods who preside over these Indriyas. So the Dhanendriyas, we know ears, skin, eyes, tongue, and nose, and the Karmendriyas, speech, hands, feet, excretory organs, and organ of reproduction. So we have, directions, Vayu, Surya, Varuna. These are the deities that preside over them. So they are also created at that time through the Rajasa Ahankara. And then from Satvika Ahankara, we have Chitta, Ahankara, Manas, and Buddhi. These are the 4 aspects of Satvika Ahankara that come out, and we have Kshetragna, Rudra, Chandra, and Brahma as the presiding deities of these. So Panchabhutas, together with Purusha, Prakriti, and Mahat, produce a golden egg. So all of this together, they create a golden egg, which is called Brahmanda. And with Hiranyagarbha, Vishnu himself in the form of Hiranyagarbha in it. Mountains and such as Meru, as well as oceans and dvipas were in it, including the nakshatras and the luminaries. So this Brahmanda is so the place where we live in Brahmanda right now, and this Brahmanda has Mount Meru and everything in it that belongs to this universe. So in the secondary creation, so we have creation of inanimate bodies, Sthavara Sarga, Prakrita Sarga is also called, where Vrikshas, Gulma, Lata, Virut, and Trun, these are created. These are largely the plant bodies. Then we have Tirya Gyonya Sarga. So this is creation of Pashu, Pakshi, and Mrugas, beasts and animals. Then Urdhva Srotas Sarga. So this is about creation of gods. So gods are defined here as those who do not have to take food inside their bodies. They can just look at it and then consume the food. And those who do not touch the earth, greater proportion of Sattva Guna, and hence they're happy in nature. This is the description of gods in Vishnu Purana. I thought it was very interesting to look at these characteristics of the Devas. And then Arvaksro Trasa Sarga, where the humans are created on earth. By the humans are the ones who live by consuming food. So they intake food. So they grow by eating food. This is the description of humans in Vishnu Purana. So the difference between gods and humans is that gods, they don't have to eat food and intake the food, whereas humans have to eat the food, take the food inside their body. Let me quickly move on to the structure of the universe. I know I don't have a lot of time, so I thought, let me finish all the talk and then maybe we'll open it for discussion. So the structure of the universe, so it starts with Bhumandala. Bhumandala is the disk that bisects the sphere of the Brahmanda, and it has the same diameter as this sphere. So when we talk about Brahmanda and the middle portion, the middle disk is Bhumandala. Bhumandala has dvipas and oceans, and which is the central region of Bhumandala is divided into 7 annular or ring-shaped islands and oceans, which alternate, called Saptadvipa. So when we say Saptadvipa Vasundhara, is basically that we are talking about Bhumandala, which constitutes these 7 dvipas or islands. And dvipa in Sanskrit is basically literally means 2 waters. So this is basically between 2 waters we have, so they are dvipas. So the dvipa here is slightly different from the dvipa that we kind of normally know. Here the dvipas are annular or ring shaped, and they surround the Jambu Dvipa, which is the center. Beyond the 7 dvipas are circular mountain ranges called Loka Loka Mountain, which we see in the picture here. And clearly, this is not geography that we are familiar in the modern sense of the term, but the geography of Bhumandala, this encodes a combination of astronomical and geographical maps, which is both rational and scientific. So this kind of a map, we cannot do it sitting here in Bhumandala. Unless you go higher up, you can't see this pattern like this. So it looks like this is an aerial. This is a map which was taken from high above the Bhumandala. That's how I see it, and many scientists have also said that this seems to be plausible. The circular features of Bhumandala, they have a calculation, a mathematical ratios to that. This is very interesting. I thought we should look at this, and which again tells us about the plausibility of the description of the universe, which modern science we are not able to basically dispute this or prove it, because we are not able to go in such a height and then see the entire the structure below. So it looks like the features of Bhumandala are defined quantitatively using a unit called yojana, which is about 8 miles in length. Jambu Dvipa, the innermost island in the form of a disk, is about 100,000 yojanas in diameter. Jambu Dvipa is surrounded by salt water, Lavanoda, which is a ring of 100,000 yojanas across from its inner to its outer edge. You see the thickness of that ring is about 100,000 yojanas. This ocean, in turn, is surrounded by the ring-shaped island of Prakshadvipa, which is 200,000 yojanas across. The successive islands and oceans enlarge as indicated in the table. I know it's very difficult to read the table, but I think if you get a chance to go through Vishnu Purana, maybe you will be able to appreciate this. The rule is that the thickness of an ocean equals the thickness of the island it surrounds, and the thickness of that island is twice the thickness of the ocean it surrounds. There is a ratio mathematics to this. The circular Jambudvipa is an exception. It surrounds no ocean, and its thickness is its diameter. Loka Loka mountain divides the illuminated region of Bhumandala from the dark uninhabited region called Aloka Varsha. So even beyond Loka Loka, there is Aloka Varsha, which extends from Loka Loka to the shell of the Brahmanda, so the outer cover of Brahmanda. So there is a more detailed description of Jambu Dvipa itself. That's where we live. Jambu Dvipa is a disk of 100,000 yojanas, as I was saying, and is situated in the center of Bhumandala. In the center of Jambu Dvipa is Mount Meru, which is also called Sumeru. There are measurements like it's supposed to be 16,000 yojanas above the Bhumandala and 16,000 yojanas below the Bhumandala. And then Jambu Dvipa is divided into 9 varshas or continents by a series of mountain ranges. And the disk is divided into 7 horizontal strips, as you can see, by 6 mountain ranges that run from east to west. So like Shringavan, Shweta, Nila, these are all the mountains that you see in the drawing here. And then Kuru, Hiranmaya, and Ramyaka, these are the varshas. So the horizontal from east to west, the mountain ranges are Shringavan, Shweta, Nila, Nishada, Hemakuta, and Himalaya. And so they divide that into Harivarsha, Kimpurusha, Bharata, Ramyaka, Hiranmaya, and Kuru. These are the varshas that are there. And then we have the two mountain ranges, the central strip, which is divided into 3 varshas. So we have Malayavat and Gandhamadana. These are the 2 Parvata ranges which divide that central portion into three Varshas: Ketumala, Iravrita, and Bhadrashva. So Bharata Varsha is singled out as a field of fruitive activity. So for us, if you think about this earth, the entire earth is called Bharata. So, and this is supposed to be the, I mean, at that time, probably everything was ruled by Bharata. The whole earth was ruled by Bharata. So that's how the whole earth is considered to be Bharata. Then the name is Bharata. So, and the other 8 Varshas are said to be meant for elevated persons. So Bharata is supposed to be, the earth is supposed to be the Karma Bhumi, which would give fruit, field of fruitful activities. And the other 8 Varshas are said to be meant for elevated persons who are enjoying the remainder of the pious credits and returning from heavenly regions. So if you, Vishnu Purana also describes the life and the type of people and that are available, that we see in the other Varshas of the Jambu Dvipa. This Vishnu Purana also talks about that this Bhumandala is one portion, one of the lokas, one of the 14 lokas, Chaturdasha loka. So above Bhumandala, which is also called Bhurloka, there are 6 lokas, and below we have below the Bhurloka there are 7 lokas. So there are a total of 14 lokas in this Brahmanda. If you see the picture here, so we have a Brahmanda, and the central portion is the Bhurloka or Bhumandala that we talked about. And then we have above that Bhuvarloka, Swarloka, Mahaloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, and Satyaloka. And then we have 7 Patalas, so Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Mahatala, Rasatala, Patala Loka. So Bhuvar and Suvar lokas include the orbits of Sun, Moon, and other planets, Saptarshis, and up to pole star, we have the Bhuvar loka. Then above Dhruva loka, above Dhruva, there is a distance of 10 million yojanas, like the sphere of Rishis or Mahar loka. Its inhabitants live there throughout the Kalpa or a day of Brahma. So you see that, so they don't get destroyed, they don't experience any pralay or lie, in the Manvantaras. So a Kalpa, as we saw, has 14 Manvantaras, right? And 14 Manvantaras together, they have about 1,000 cycles of Mahayugas, Krita Yuga, Treta Yuga. So all these who are inhabited in Maharloka, they don't get destroyed, every time a Manvantara changes, or so they are untouched by the changes that happen within a Kalpa. At twice the distance is situated Janaloka, the dwelling place of Sanandana and other pure-minded sons of Brahma. So these Manasaputras of Brahma, they dwell in Janaloka. Then at 4 times that distance lies the Tapoloka, inhabited by deities called Vaibhrajas. So they are unconsumable by fire. So you remember there is a description of Pralay, Mahapralay. So when the pralay happens, they are consumed by, the universe is consumed by fire, but Tapoloka doesn't get consumed by fire. So Tapoloka remains even with the turn of the Kalpas. Then at 6 times the distance is situated Satyaloka, whose inhabitants never know death. So they even with Kalpa changing, they are not going to be changed, and they are high above in the Brahmanda. So beyond Brahmanda also, around the outer space of Brahmanda, there is water for a space equal to 10 times the diameter of the world. Just think about the way the universe is described, that it is, you cannot even comprehend the vastness of the universe. And then there is water surrounded by fire, fire by air, air by mind. You remember, these are all the Panchabhutas that were created, right? So in the same order, they're all appearing, beyond Brahmanda. mind, manas. So these are all the original elements of ahankara. And that ahankara is by buddhi. And each of these extend 10 times the breadth of that which it encloses. And the last is encircled by pradhana and prakriti, which is infinite, and its extent cannot be enumerated. So pradhana is called the boundless and illimitable cause of all existing things, the cause of all mundane eggs, of which there are thousands and tens of thousands and millions and thousands of millions, such as the Brahmanda that has been described. So multiple universes exist, and this is just incomprehensible. Within Pradhana resides Purusha, diffusive, conscious, and self-irradiating, as fire is inherent in dry wood. Pradhana and Purusha both are encompassed by the energy of Vishnu, which causes their separation and combination. And this separation is a period of dissolution. Their aggregation is a period of continuance of things, and their combination is the period of creation. I have a small video which describes the universe. I just wanted to play, and it's about 3 minutes. So the structure of the universe, the cosmology, the kind of three-dimensional video that I showed was based upon the works of Richard Thompson, who wrote the book, The Cosmology of the Bhagavata Purana. So this, as I was saying, the Bhagavata Purana, whatever the structure of the universe, the creation, and about time they contain, they're all narrated to Vidura by Maitreya, and Maitreya had heard it from Parashar in the form of Vishnu Purana. This is only a a small introduction to what is contained in Vishnu Purana. Definitely, I have not been able to convey entire details about this, but I hope this will give you a sense of what is contained in Vishnu Purana. Let's move on to the legends. So Vishnu Purana also has many legends, many stories of, some of them which I really liked. The description is slightly richer in this compared to other Puranas about Varaha avatar. Beginning of this Kalpa, it says that Vishnu came in the form of Varaha, and he brought the earth up, and he reconstructed, or he repaired all the Patala had destroyed in the previous Kalpa. So he reconstructs this and brings Earth Bhumandala to its thing. And there's a beautiful description of Varaha, as well as the Varaha Stuti, the prayer to Varaha by Bhumi Devi. This is beautifully done. I really like that portion of Varaha. Then there is a story of Dhruva and Prahlada, Jadabharata, Bhagiratha. Then there is a story of Samudramathan and Lakshmi, and there is a prayer to Lakshmi also. It starts with the Durvasa's curse to Indra, and I think most of us know these stories. And of course, Krishna's story is in much more detail, about starting with his birth, like Kamsa and killing of Kamsa and other stories, very interesting stories that we see here. I want to, next few slides, I want to summarize what the Vishnu Purana talks about in terms of dharma and in terms of moksha. There are a lot of things. It's only described in sixth amsha, and we don't have lots of shlokas giving us the moksha gyan. For example, the Moksha Parva of Shanti Parva in Mahabharata is much more detailed in terms of what moksha and what dharma could be. But I think this Vishnu Purana gives us a brief description currently, whatever we have now in our position, Vishnu Purana. I wanted to narrate this from a story which Parashara tells to Maitreya. So once it was a matter of dispute among the sages, at what yuga will the least moral merit obtains the greatest reward? So we have this, right? So shortcut. You do the smallest meritorious deed and you get the greatest reward. So which yuga will that be? At what yuga will this happen? And who will display it the most? So this was the dispute among the rishis. And so they went to Vyasa to clear their doubt. So they found Vyasa half immersed in the waters of Ganges, waiting for him to complete his ablutions. The sages remained on the banks of the sacred river under the shelter of a grove of trees. So they were under the trees and watching Vyasa. So they saw Vyasa plunging down into the water and again rising up exclaiming, "Excellent, excellent is the Kali Yuga." Again he dived and again rising said in their hearing, well done, Shudra, you are happy." Again he sank down, and as he once more emerged, they heard him say, well done, women, they are happy, who are more fortunate than they." After this, Vyasa finished his bathing, and the sages met him, and he approached to welcome them. After he had given them seats and they had proffered their respects, Vyasa asked about the purpose of their visit. Then the rishis said that, yeah, we came to you to consult you on this subject on which we have some doubt, but that doubt can wait. It can be suspended present. Explain to us something else. We heard you say, excellent is the Kali Yuga. Well done, Shudra. Well done, women. We are curious to know why you said this, why you called them repeatedly happy. Vyasa smiled and told them the reasons for his explanations. He said, the fruit of penance, of continence, of silent prayer, and the like dhyana, yoga, all of that practiced in the Krita Yuga for 10 years, in the Treta for 1 year. So they all equal. So whatever you have done good karmas in Krita Yuga for 10 years, that's equivalent to doing that for 1 year in Treta Yuga. And in Dwapara Yuga, for a month. And in Kali Yuga, in a day and night. Therefore, I said, Kali Yuga is the best, kind of a thing. So this is important. I mean, the measure of, so how much good karma you do and how long you do that good karma. So if you do dhyana for 10 years, whatever merit you get is equivalent to, in Treta Yuga, if you do it only for 1 year. And in Kali Yuga, just for 1 day, if you do this dhyana, you will get the merits of doing dhyana for, say, 10 years in Krita Yuga. So that's this I think is important for us to remember. We talked about time and dharma and how dharma loses 1 leg each in every yuga. Like Krita Yuga, he had 4 legs, and then he loses 1 leg in Treta Yuga, loses 2 legs in Dwapara Yuga. So this again, seems to be related to that kind of a ratio. So 10 year, 1 year, 1 month, and 1 day. So that reward which a man obtains by abstract meditation in Krita Yuga, by yajna in Treta Yuga. So dhyana in Krita Yuga was the most meditation was the most pious thing to do in Krita Yuga. And in Treta Yuga, it was yajna. You can do this. And puja in Dwapara Yuga. And in Kali Yuga, it's merely reciting the name of Keshava by just remembering his name. That itself is the meritorious act, good karma in Kali Yuga. So not only the quantity or the ratio of your, you don't have to do it very long in Kali Yuga, but you don't also have to do such an elaborate thing that depends on so many other things. So you can just recite the name of Keshava, and that's enough. So Kali Yuga is the most simplest of all yugas, though it has got large amount of adharma. But if you can be dharmic in a very simple way of just reciting the name of Krishna and doing it just for 1 day also is enough to give us the merits that we would get in a Krita Yuga for 10 years of tapas. So in Kali Yuga, so a man displays the most exalted virtue by very little exertion. And that's why I know what, I who knows what virtue is, I'm pleased with Kali Yuga. So Vyasa says that I know what dharma is because I've seen all these yugas, but I am pleased with Kali Yuga because a man can obtain virtue by very little exertion in Kali Yuga. Then there was a question about why did you say, oh, you are fortunate Shudra. So he talks about, so that was more about Yuga Dharma, what Vyasa was talking about, like Krita. Now he is talking about Varna Dharma. So we have 4 Varnas, right? Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. So Vyasa says that the twice born, the Brahmin, Kshatriya, and Vaishya, they are called Dvijas, or twice born, enjoy no independence. And they attain their respective lokas only with exceeding pain. So they have to do a lot of exertion, in the sense that there are lots of niyamas, there are lots of shastras that we need to do. The Brahmin or Kshatriya or Vaishya to attain moksha. There are many restrictions to what they can do and what they cannot practice. But the Shudra, on the contrary, is more fortunate than all of these Brahmins, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas, because reaches his assigned station by rendering them service and performing merely the sacrifice of preparing food. You just have to prepare the food, and that itself is a yagna that you do, in which no rules determine what may or may not be eaten, what may or may not be drunk. That's why Shudra is fortunate, because there are no restrictions. The most simplest thing is to just prepare the food. That itself is a yagna that a Shudra can do. Riches, so this is how it says that among all the varnas, Shudra can attain the moksha or perform the most dharmic act without much of exertion. Then he talks about, he also said that women, oh, you are fortunate. So the answer to that is that men they accumulate wealth, and there is a great deal of trouble in their acquisition, great care in their preservation. Whatever we earn, we want to preserve them, the men, and great distress for what of them, if for want of them. So if they're not there, if you are poor, and great grief for their loss. So men have to undergo, men generally have this accumulation of wealth and the stress and the troubles associated with that. A woman has only one to honor, only one to do, that's to honor her husband in act, thought, and speech, to reach the same region in which he is elevated, and she thus accompanies her object without any great exertion. This was the purport of my exclamation, women, you are fortunate. So for me, this story was interesting. I mean, there are many other conversations between Parashara and Maitreya regarding the moksha and how to attain, what is the right way of living, and that would lead to moksha. But I thought that this particular incident, the story which Parashara tells, he says, this is my son, Vyasa is Parashara's son, and he says, this is what my son told to these rishis, that Kali Yuga is the most fortunate yuga, and Shudra and women are also very fortunate, because with little exertion, we can attain moksha in this Kali Yuga. So I want to conclude this with a Shanti mantra. Swasti prajabhya paripalantam nyayena margena mahim manishaha go brahmanebhya shubhamastu nityam loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So if there are any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
We have one question, Ramesh ji. Any specific reason why in Kali Yuga only taking name of God or mantra japa is enough, while in other yugas we have to spend more time in penance?
So it appears from the, I mean, I don't know, but the way the Puranas, they talk about this. So when we talk about Satya Yuga, so there we are closer to the creator, Brahma. That's what in the previous talk you were talking about. And so we had to do, tapas was the main good karma there. And doing tapas for 10 years, or like people used to do, I mean, tapas is described there at Satyayuga as millions of years of tapas. And there is timelessness in Satyayuga. In Kali Yuga, the Bhumandala seems to be drifting little away from the creator. And it seems that the humans are suffering more in Kali Yuga, and adharma is more here in Kali Yuga. So at this time, at this Kali Yuga, just taking the name of Vishnu or Krishna or Keshava or any of the gods that you look at it, so that itself is supposed to be enough. So it looks like it has something to do with the Kali Yuga's, how separate it is from the earth, and how from the creator, and how dharma is playing out in Kali Yuga. And there is no other thing that I see. I mean, from the Puranas, they don't describe exactly why this is the case, but I think from my looking at the other aspects of dharma and time and the structure of the universe, it looks like this seems plausible, because when you are so physically, mentally weak, even if you are able to, even if that kind of weakness, when the humans are very weak compared to Satyayuga, Treta Yuga, even if you can just take the name of the Lord, I think that itself seems to be the most pious act.
So there is another, I mean, I don't know this question or comment, but let me read it out from Lakshmi Pillai. So in Kali Yuga, for women, just by doing household duties itself, they'll get liberated, is it?
Oh no, I don't think Vyasa meant household duties. No, I don't think he meant that. What he meant was that to be let me pull that out. So what he meant probably was to honor her husband in act, thought, and speech. So there is a I think this is a relationship related kind of a behavior, that you love a person, a husband, and you honor him, right? And through act, thought, and speech. So this is, so kaya, vacha, manasa. So you honor your husband. So this is a very different meaning than just doing household chores. I don't think Vyasa meant that way.
Okay, yeah, it's a good explanation. And another comment, the video gave a good understanding. It doesn't have audio. I think we can share a link on the YouTube channel so people can.
Oh, sorry. Oh my God. Okay, you didn't hear the audio because I was on my earphone. I'm sorry about that. I will make that available.
Yeah, I think that's all. There are no more questions at this point.
Thank you so much. I would like to thank International Institute for Vedic Studies for giving me this opportunity to share my learnings of Vishnu Purana. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Ramesh. I really appreciate you sharing your knowledge with us, and it's very interesting, and especially for a lot of us who doesn't know any Sanskrit. Just a quick comment on the closing. If any of you haven't subscribed to our channel, please subscribe and stay tuned for the future talks. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Namaste.
Thanks.